Well, let's start with the big story of the day. After threatening to hit Iran very hard and even warning of a takeover of Iran's key oil infra, US President Donald Trump has now made a dramatic U-turn. He has said that US strikes on Iran, they have been called off after what he described as a major diplomatic breakthrough. According to Donald Trump, discussions with Iran have reached the highest level of the leadership, and the final points of the possible agreement have also been approved between the two countries. While Trump claims that a deal could be signed soon, the US naval blockade on Iran, in fact, will continue until the agreement is finalized. And now the big question is, has the region stepped back from the brink of the war, or is this just a pause before the next big escalation? But at this point in time, we're learning that after threatening to hit Iran very hard and even taking over Kurg Island, remember, these were the words of Donald Trump last night, and now he has taken a dramatic U-turn. He has said that the planned strikes on Iran, they have been called off after what he described as a major diplomatic breakthrough. Taking on social media, in fact, he has stated that based on the fact that discussion with Iran have been brought to the highest level of the Iranian leadership and approved, I have, as a president of the United States of America, cancelled the strikes and bombing against Iran this evening. Discussion and final points have been in both concept and great detail approved by both the parties, including US, Israel, Saudi, UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Jordan, Egypt and others. The naval blockade, however, he has said that will continue and will be in full force in effect until the transaction is finalized. Time and place of the signing will also be announced shortly. So that's a big breaking update we're getting at this point in time, that the time and the place of the signing of the deal between US and Iran will also be announced by Donald Trump shortly. But at this point in time, in fact, from the last 2 days, we've been witnessing attack and counter-attack by both the countries, Iran and US. But now Donald Trump has said that he has taken a U-turn. He had planned US strikes on Iran, but that has been called off. And other than that, he has said that he will be signing a deal very shortly. And this comes just hours after he took to social media and said that he would be hitting Iran very hard tonight and would assume total control of the oil and the gas industries there, including the key Kurg Island oil terminal that he will be taking over not too in distant future. He also compared his plans for Iran to how US assumed control of Venezuela's oil sector after capturing then a president, in fact, in January earlier this year. So that's a big claim coming in from Donald Trump. We have another breaking update coming in. Donald Trump has taken a big U-turn on the strikes on Iran day after teasing tap, tap, tap bombing, the threat that he had given in a social media address. Now his call of the strikes on Iran, Trump has paused the strikes, citing a breakthrough. Trump has said that the final points agreed in detail. He has also said that a wide regional buy-in for the deal. Signing date and venue will be announced by him very shortly. So there is a U-turn that he has taken, but he has also gone on to mention that the naval blockade will remain in force when it comes to the shipping there to and from Iran that has been blocked by the United States. That will remain in place at this point in time until the deal is signed. So taking to social media, in fact, Donald Trump has said that the discussions with Iran, they have been brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and also approved. So he, as a president of the United States, has cancelled the strikes and bombing against Iran this evening. Listen into what he said.
Has to pass between this memorandum of understanding and final deal being done.
Well, we hope it's going to go relatively quickly, but it's,
is there a 60 or 90
I mean, the straits are going to open immediately. It's fun signing. Maybe it'll be Saturday or Monday.
Or is there a deadline, though, to get from this to a final deal?
We think it's going to go pretty quickly. I don't want to say a deadline, because if I say a deadline, you'll say, oh, he didn't meet the deadline. You know, this is like, it's not going to matter much, because it's going to get signed. And the strait is open. But the straits have been open for a number of months already, and you just didn't know about it. You know, you as reporters weren't able to get it. They just announced yesterday that we brought a lot of ships through, and nobody knew about it. I guess we did a pretty good job, Peter, right? But we brought many, many ships across, and millions, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil were brought across. And there wasn't a thing that anybody could have done about that. Yeah.
Is the Kurg Island operation off the table, and are you
hope it's going to go relatively quickly, but it's.
Is there a 60 or 90?
I mean, the straits are going to open immediately. It's fun signing. Maybe it'll be Saturday.
All right, so you just heard U.S. President Donald Trump. He has said that he has cancelled strikes against Iran, saying that negotiations with the country were brought to the highest level of Iranian leadership and also approved. Discussion in the final points have been in both concept and great detail, approved by all the parties, and he has taken name of the Gulf countries as well. Let me go across to former diplomat KP Fevin. Thank you so much, sir, for connecting with us. How do you look at this big U-turn that Donald Trump has now taken? Just a few hours back, he had said that he would be bombing Iran. He would be also taking over Kurg Island, a very key oil terminal there, in few days as well. But now he has said that he is taking a U-turn. He will not be attacking Iran tonight. In fact, this has to do with the deal and the discussions that he has had with the top leadership of Iran is what he is claiming so far. Your take on this?
Thank you. We have to take this with a degree of hope and a degree of caution. Hope because this is the first time President Trump is canceling attack plans and at the same time saying that a deal is ready. So that is the hope part of it. And the caution part of it is that, well, Iran has not yet confirmed. But my view, when you are sort of facing uncertainty, you have to make a guess. The guess could be right, guess could be wrong. I think this time there will be a settlement because things are getting too hot for President Trump politically. And Iran, of course, would be keen on a settlement. So there is more hope than caution. But with President Trump, nothing can be predicted.
All right, but you are striking an optimistic tone, sir, that there is a hope that something will go right. But of course, no reaction has come in from Iran on the statement that has been made by Donald Trump. How do you see this escalation pan out in the coming days? Because no one was even apprehending that there would be escalation once again. But in the last few days, we have seen attacks after attacks, be it Iran versus Israel or Iran versus US. How do you see it progress in the coming days?
Well, in war theory, there is something called you escalate so that you can de-escalate later. And then claim that, you are getting what you wanted because you escalated. So it is quite possible that there has been no change on Iran's part. But President Trump, having figured out that it was costing him too much to go on doing what he was doing, he might have thought, I repeat, he might have thought that let me escalate and then say that, because I escalated, I got what I wanted.
All right, so that could be one of the reasons. Stay on with us, sir. I'll come back to you once again. We have another breaking update coming in. Another statement that has come in from Donald Trump, because he has said that Iran has agreed to key nuclear restrictions as a part of the ongoing negotiation between US and Iran. Speaking to media there, in fact, Trump has claimed that Iranian officials have accepted firm guarantees that the country will not develop, acquire or possess the nuclear weapon in the future as well. And according to Trump, Iran has agreed to the central US demand that Iran must never obtain a nuclear bomb in any way, shape or form. So that is the latest we're learning as far as Donald Trump is concerned. Coming back to you, KP Famin, on this, this was a key demand by Donald Trump that Iran must not possess and make nukes. Now he has said no reaction is coming from Iran on this, but Donald Trump at this point in time has said that Iran has agreed that they will not be developing, acquiring or possessing nuclear weapon in the future. How crucial is this, given that this was the key friction point between the two countries?
Yeah, but let's go back in history. On the 27th of February, at the Embassy of Oman in Geneva, there were discussions between Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, representing America, and the Iranian foreign minister representing Iran, and mediated or presided over by the foreign minister of Oman. He went to Washington on the 27th of February, and he briefed Vice President Vance, and then later, in a few hours' time, the war broke out. In fact, according to what was agreed to in Geneva, delegations were to meet at a technical level in Vienna. And during a program called Face a Nation, the foreign minister of Oman said Iran had agreed to 4 no's: no enrichment, no stockpiling, downblending of the enriched uranium, and most important, never ever to make a nuclear weapon. Now, so these 4 no's were there. In other words, Trump had got a deal better than Obama's. But then came Prime Minister Netanyahu, who assassinated the supreme leader, and Trump immediately joined the war. So, but
right.
I doubt whether Trump will get exactly what he was offered in Geneva. I doubt it, but, Trump finds himself in a position where he has to put an end to this, what shall I say, dance of death.
Absolutely, and he's very hopeful that Iran has agreed to key nuclear restriction as a part of the ongoing negotiation between the two countries. Thank you so much, sir, for connecting with us. Let's once again listen in to what Donald Trump said.
Had a great settlement of the war with Iran, and we're going to be subject to finalization of documents, which should get done over the next few days. Probably have a signing maybe in Europe, and it's a great thing. Stock market's up 1,000 points. That means they like the deal. See, that means they like, the market goes down. That means they don't like the deal. But it's been up. Oil's dropped. Oil will start coming down to, I think, even lower than it was before. I said I was in Iowa. It was $1.85 a gallon. And I don't know if I'm going to get there, but we're going to get pretty close. It's going to come down, and when oil comes down, everything else comes down. And most importantly, we have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a big, very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see. We'll see. Very good. Should be done. And that should be done pretty quickly. They want it every bit as much as everybody else wants it. And I think a lot of good relationships.
And with that, another breaking update that is coming in. On the expected lines, Iranian media has pushed back against US President Donald Trump's claim that Tehran has agreed to a finalized nuclear-related framework with the US. In fact, their media is stating that no draft agreement with the US has been approved so far. The sources directly contradict Trump's assertion that Iran has signed off on the finalized text and accepted the key US condition when it comes to the nuclear negotiations. The denial comes shortly after US President Donald Trump, remember, announced that he has called off planned military strikes against Iran, citing what he described as a major diplomatic breakthrough. Trump has claimed that Tehran has agreed to strict nuclear restriction and accepted that they would not be possessing or making any nuclear bombs in the future as well. However, at this point in time, we're learning that Iranian media is reporting that their sources are insisting that negotiations remain ongoing, but no final decision has been made by their country. They've also not approved any finalized text and has not formally accepted a draft agreement. Iranian officials have also said that any potential deal would still require approval through the country's internal decision-making process. So that is the latest we're learning. A response that is now coming from the Iranian side as well. Their media is reporting that the authorities there are pushing back against US President Donald Trump's claims that Tehran has agreed to a finalized nuclear-related framework with the US. No draft agreement with the US has been approved so far.